Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 2025 judge training for the Mont National History Day contest. My name is Katie Pownell. I am the manager of education for the Mercer Museum in Fonthill Castle. I'm also joined by Megan Dixon, and she is our Ruth Maxon NHD intern. And together we are the team running National History Day this year. First of all, I wanted to thank everyone for being virtually with us today, and most importantly, for being a virtual judge or in-person judge at this year's contest. Whether it's continued support or new support, I see a lot of familiar and new faces today. We could not do this without you as judges. You are crucial to making National History Day a success every year, and we really appreciate the time you take to volunteer to help students in our area as they move on with their projects towards the state and possibly national level. Before we get started, I just wanted to familiarize everybody with the Zoom platform in case you're new to it. You may notice that everybody has their microphones on mute, and some of you have your videos on, which is wonderful. We ask that you keep yourselves on mute throughout the whole meeting until our Q&A portion at the end, and then feel free throughout. You can type any questions into the chat, and we can answer them at the end. And then for anybody who's like to review this information afterwards and anybody who was unable to make it tonight, we are recording tonight's meeting and we will be sending it out tomorrow along with your judge assignments and all the other information you'll need. We're going to be spending some time together divided into 4 different sections for this training. So the first part of the evening, we'll be going over the mechanisms of the NHD process. This will answer questions such as, what are the categories? What does the virtual contest website look like? What do evaluations look like? Who fills them out, etc. The next part will be all about the different rounds of judging. We do have 2 rounds of judging in this contest. We will have round 1 judges and round 2 judges. Thirdly, we will be explaining what to expect when you join us for the future Zoom meetings, which is our virtual judging, and what to expect if you are one of our in-person judges for March 22nd at Delaware Valley University. And lastly, we will be looking at how to fill out the evaluation forms so that the students get the most possible benefit. And I will leave plenty of time for questions. Perfect. Judging logistics. So we're going to go over how student work is passed through the National History Day process. And we will begin with what the idea of National History Day is, its purpose, and how that develops into the projects that we will be seeing here. After that, we will review the procedures you will need to judge these projects. So, what is National History Day? National History Day is a highly regarded academic program for elementary and secondary students. NHD itself began in April 1974 on the campus of Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. The idea was the brainchild of a history professor who was worried about the decline of the humanities in general and history in particular in American schools. Today, it's a nationwide competition for students in 6th through 12th grade, and it's very similar to the science fair format. There are hundreds of students on the regional, state, and national level doing historical research in NHD, digging into historical events to create their projects. And we are excited that they are so excited about history. National History Day gets students out of the classroom and into the world as historians. They are doing research, they are tracking down information about historical people and events. Their research leads them to craft a thesis and build original conclusions shared by their different projects. Students have the option or the choice to either create a paper, a website, a documentary, a performance, or an exhibit to communicate their historical research and argument. NHD supports and reinforces critical writing, reading, and research skills for students. So there's a contest progression. The contest for progression for National History Day in general starts on the school level. Many schools participate in school contests, and then they promote their students to the next level, which is regional. National History is sometimes part of the school's program or curriculum, and other times it's voluntary students choosing to do it. You'll notice the size of the arrow gets smaller, indicating that fewer students make it through each round. We are a regional contest, we see the red circle there, And the winners from our competition move on to the state level and then hopefully up to the national level. Even though most of the entries you judge at our competition will not move on to the next level, it is our goal to provide all students with a positive and memorable experience that will encourage them. So, how the contest works. Each of you will be assigned to judge a certain category. They are, again, papers, websites, performances, documentaries, and exhibits. The paper is the only individual category, meaning students cannot submit group papers. But for the 4 other categories, submissions can either be individual or in groups of 2 to 5 people. Each category is also divided into the junior and senior divisions. Junior is grades 6 through 8, and senior is 9 through 12. For example, the documentary category will be divided into junior individual, junior group, senior individual, and senior group. And students will be judged within those subcategories. Annual theme. Students need to design their project in relation to a common theme. The national office selects a theme each year that students at every level of the competition have to use to guide their research and their historical argument. This year, the theme is rights and responsibilities. It is very important that they'll have to hit both of those. The annual theme is broad in purpose, and we ask that judges keep an open mind about all the projects they are reviewing. You might personally like, dislike, be excited about, or be tired of seeing a certain project topic, but remember to stay consistent and fairly judge each project regardless of your personal feelings about the topic. The life cycle of a student project is typically from September through June. As I mentioned previously, many schools incorporate National History Day into their curriculum, and students begin talking about their projects and choosing a theme right at the beginning of the year in September. They'll start the research project, and that project will extend throughout the school year if they make it all the way to the national competition in June. After choosing their own topic, students do historical research, they build their thesis, they analyze their sources. Their projects are not just book reports, they analyze the information and come up with their own conclusions. This is all in the process of creating their entry. Then they move on to presenting it at the competition. Your part of that process is to give them constructive feedback on their projects. If they're moving on, feedback is helpful to tweak their projects and make it better for the next level of the competition. And if they don't move on, it's helpful if they continue the following year and they continue learning about research and critical analysis. You've seen the category breakdown a few times so far. Tomorrow, again, I will be sending an email that will be giving you your category that you'll be judging for the competition. Again, it's one of these 5 categories. So let's get into the process of actually judging projects. As I mentioned before, judges work in judging teams of about 2 to 3 judges, and there is 1 judge captain on each team. If you are the judge captain, you will be notified in that email tomorrow, and your job as the captain is to simply click the button at the end of the night that allows you to submit the rankings of the projects. The judge team, however, must reach consensus about the projects they're evaluating. So as a team, you will create that ranking, and the judge captain simply inputs the ranking into the system. Oh, the arrow got ugly. I'm sorry. So the next one is judging rounds. You can see here there's a first round and the second round. So we have our judging virtually, and then we will have in-person interviews. So all students have submitted their projects digitally, and you, our judges, will have access to view them and evaluate them through our virtual contest website, which we will look at a little bit later. Tonight, we're going to walk through the process of viewing the projects, filling out the evaluation form, submitting the rankings, and interviewing students. On March 22nd, judges will meet with students and ask them questions based on the prompts we provide. The interview questions, however, are meant to be based on the project's content and development. However, the rulebook says that entries should stand on their own without additional comments to students. This is why we rank and evaluate the projects ahead of time. The virtual judging is divided into two distinct components, the first round and the second round of judging. You will receive your judging schedule by category and date, and the rounds, whether it's first round or second round, is depending on how many entries are in the category. If there's any more than 8 entries, we split it into 2 rounds, so there's multiple judging groups for a category. So round 1 is all student projects, and round 1 judges are the ones who get the first look at the student projects. They will be filling out what appears to be a survey, which is the student evaluation. And all of these projects will be available tomorrow, Thursday, February 27th, 2025. My apologies. The goal is that you have 2 hours with your judging team to talk about the student projects. That gives you about 10 minutes to discuss each one, and then the remaining time to deliberate. By the end of round 1 in all the categories, the person designated as the captain will take the consensus first place, second place, third, and fourth, and type those rankings into the system. It might sound a little strange, but all the other student projects will be ranked as a 99. That just makes sure that the virtual system can register which ones are the top projects that will pull them into the second round. After that, your work is done. Remember that students will be able to see those bubbles that you fill in, as well as the evaluation form with the comments that you type in. We are going to look at the quality of comments in just a few minutes. Round 2 judges. So round 2 is where the top entries from round 1 will be sent to a second round to whittle down into the first, second, third, and fourth place projects of the entire category or division. Again, any projects that are not those top 4 get ranked as the 99, just to make sure they don't get pulled by the system. For round 2 judges, you will not be filling out any bubbles like round 1 that we'll be seeing later. Round 2 judges simply discuss and rank the projects, and so as 1, 2, 3, and 4, after they come to their team consensus. The round 2 judge captain will also have a little bit of room. They'll have a comment box as well to add their additional comments based on their conversation in round 2. So round 2 judges don't need to submit the comments ahead of time, unlike round 1. Based on how nationals is set up, since round 1 judges have already filled out those evaluations, that's why the round 2 also don't need to fill out the forms. And then the round 2 judges as well will receive their projects on a later date based on when that round 1 judging ends. It'll be the next day. What to expect on judging nights. So you will receive emails from me tomorrow with the dates for your category and night you will be joining myself and Megan over Zoom. Your judge teams will be then put into breakout rooms over Zoom, and that will be with your teammates. So you'll be with your 2 to 3 judges on your judging team in that breakout room. And that is where you can discuss the student projects. You will have 90 minutes. Again, similar, you will have the 10 minutes to discuss each project and the remaining time to rank the student projects. And then Megan and I will be available to answer any questions you may have on those nights. You should all be able to log into your judge portals based on the accounts that you've registered with. If you have any problems, lost the password or anything, just send me an email. We can reset the password on the back end. Round 1 judges, again, a reminder that you will need to fill out your evaluation forms ahead of time and fill out those comments. That way, the next day, the round 2 judges can get those projects and rankings as soon as possible. Competition day. This year, all students, teachers, and all of our in-person judges will meet in person at Delaware Valley University on Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. Exhibit students will bring their exhibits to display, and performance students will have an opportunity to perform their project. However, while judges have still read through and evaluated these projects, judges will have an opportunity to provide additional feedback on the competition day. Judges who are the in-person judges will be sent detailed information about when to arrive, where to park, where your student interviews will be, all in the coming weeks. Upon arrival, judges will check in with our team, and then we will have a brief orientation before we send you all to your appropriate rooms where you will be doing the judging. We will also have breakfast and lunch refreshments for the judges, so that'll be fun. As we already discussed, judges will be viewing all the projects ahead of time. This allows for more thoughtful feedback to be provided to the students on the evaluation forms. However, an important component to the NHD experience is the in-person interviews. At least one judge, sometimes two, from every round one judging team will meet with the students of the projects that they've reviewed. Interviews will last no more than 10 minutes, and then there will be a 5-minute buffer between every interview. Students who submit group projects will be all interviewed together as the group. Student interviews give participants an opportunity to share about their work in an academic setting outside of their classroom. The interviews are a learning opportunity for all the students. Each judge will have a form to add additional comments for the student about the interview. Some students are really great at interviews. Some might need some constructive criticism on how to be a bit better. And it's your job as the judge to help them with this learning process through your comments. And these are skills that will serve them heavily in the future. For students, the chance to talk to adults and share about their work is a great professional development opportunity, and feedback to that specific experience is very important. As I alluded to previously, NHD judges evaluate projects on whether primary sources are used, whether the written materials are grammatically correct, as well as the student's analysis and comments about the historical data. The project should stand alone outside of this interview process. We'll talk briefly about the process of interviewing students. All in-person judges will be receiving a judge packet that includes this list of prompt questions and space to write about it. This is your notes for when you talk with the student. So this will be your copy. This is the one on the left. We'll change it probably for this year. The second piece of paper on the right is the official comment document that students will receive after, and that's where you can summarize your thoughts and comments. You will turn into staff at the end of the morning, and then this will be given to students. Each of the official comment forms will be pre-labeled with the students' names and their project title. The first couple questions are broad and general. This helps students get at ease and show them that the interview process is not a scary one. And then the questions will get more specific about the research done on the project and the methodology that they chose. We have a couple of student interview don'ts that you just want to be aware of while you're judging, so you can try to avoid them. So here they are. Don't lecture the students about the project. The interview is a time slot to let the students add to their project, not for the judges to talk through the 10 minutes. 10 minutes goes by very quickly. Please don't make any comments about how they did overall in comparison to other students or projects, and avoid saying anything like, "That was the best project I've seen all day." The interview is also not a time to offer suggestions or areas of improvement. Your comments on the judge evaluation forms virtually will serve that purpose. And although we've already said it tonight, remember that you might be biased against a certain project. Try to be aware of this and prevent it from affecting how you judge. Be thoughtful in your comments and use the interview time to hear from the students. If there are guests watching the presentations, do your best to separate where you, the judges, are sitting from where the audience may be in the room. This is more really relevant for the exhibit category where it's in that open space. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our judge portal, ZFairs. You should be familiar with it. This is the website where you signed up to be a judge. This was the registration website. So here is the ZFairs homepage. We will be sending the link to everybody again tomorrow if you've lost access to it. So we will be sending you a new link so you can log in And you can see that red box right there where you can put in your username and password. And again, as a reminder, if you've lost your password, just send me an email. We can make you a new one. Once logged in, you will be on the judge's main homepage. If you scrolled here, you would see the rule book and the theme narrative. All judges should just get familiar with both of those documents. Then to access the judge portal, you can see there's some tabs at the top. Click judging, then click judge portal. So this is what your screen will look like, but obviously a little bit different based on the projects you're judging in the category. Your judge portal is where you view your projects, fill out your evaluations, and then submit your rankings. So at the top, we have this judge groups section. The names and contacts for the other 1 to 2 judges, including yourself, will be visible at the top of this page. I've kind of blacked out the example ones we've used, but you can see the number 1 will be the name of the judge captain. And then over to the right, you would see their email and their phone number. So you'll be able to get in contact with each other. Then there's the judging assignment section. And this lists the projects that you will be evaluating. The judge group we are looking at right now is a junior group documentary, round 1, team 1. You can see that right there. And you can see the links to view the documentaries and look at the written materials. You'll see documentary link, click here to view, written materials, click here to open. For documentaries, there are 2 ways to upload their project. So you can see that second project right there only says written materials, click to open. But if you click view and evaluate, the video is on the second page. So if you have any problems, just send me an email. Everybody's project should be there. In the center there, you can see special award nominations. You can ignore that. The last 2 years, we've had students self-nominate their projects. So that is what's happening. And then on the right-hand side, you will see each judge's names. So those gray squares would be the judge's name. And right now it says that they are not started because nobody started judging yet. Once they begin, it will say in progress. And at the end, it'll say finished. And then to view your assignment, you'll click view and evaluate. So we have that nice red box right there. So that's where we're going now. So this is what will come up when you click view and evaluate. And you can see that video upload, click here. So this was the second one. And this tab will show the project title, which we see at the top, links to the project and or the written materials if they're applicable at the top of the page. Underneath the title and links, you will see the digital evaluation sheet. The evaluation will need to be filled out and submitted digitally. Remember, only the round 1 judges will fill out these bubbles and comments on the forms. We will review the specific rules and content of the evaluation forms a little bit later, but I wanted to share them here what they look like. So here, the first big portion of the bubbles that you'll be filling out is about historical quality. And you'll fill in the bubbles of whether they did each one of these things: exemplary, proficient, developing, novice, or not at all. We will be discussing all these different things in a little bit. So I'm going to move on to the second section, which is clarity of presentation. Again, you'll be filling it out based on whether the project is exemplary, proficient, developing, novice, or not evident for all of these things. And again, we'll discuss these qualities a little bit later. And the last section of the judging that has bubbles to fill out is the rules compliance section. And this section is customized for the category and its specific rules. Again, we are looking at documentaries, so we can see things like the time is less than or equal to 10 minutes. The entry is student produced. The entry includes source credits at the end. So every type of category will have different rules of it. So this is what it would look like for documentaries. And under this section, there's the option to simply say yes or no. It automatically says yes. You'll have to move it to no if you believe this is a no. And underneath no, you'll be asked to provide an explanation. And you can discuss all of these rules compliance violations with your team. If you all agree on the violation, you can all mark it. and then that will show a brown flag icon on that front page. So next to the judge's name, you'll see a brown icon, and that's because there's a rules compliance issue. And the last thing is the evaluation comments. And this is where you get to write out your comments to the students. There are 2 boxes here. You can see the top one is strengths and areas of improvement. It makes it very clear students will see these comments. So these are the comments that the students will see. You can, in this section, thank them for participating, say well done, and then give your constructive criticism and, of course, your compliments to the project. There is a required minimum of 300 characters here. So if you're having issues of being able to save, that is because you haven't hit that 300 character minimum. So it'll let you save it, but you can't save it and share it with the team. And again, students will see those comments. The second box is the personal notes section. There is no character minimum or maximum, and the students will not see these notes. So that is just for your reference. You don't have to use it at all. If you're deciding to use a scratch pad on the side to jot down your notes while evaluating the projects, totally fine. If you are halfway done your evaluation, but you need to take a break, leave it, for example, you can click save. This will save your progress, but it won't share it with your team. And then after you've completed the evaluation, you can click save and share with team. And this will let your team members be able to see your contest, or the contest admin can see it and your team members. If you make any changes after that, you can still go in and edit it. Just make sure you click save and share with team, so you don't get locked out of it until the rankings get submitted later. So what makes a good evaluation? Our biggest goal is to encourage these students to keep learning and growing, and we can do this through constructive criticism and feedback, as well as providing a welcoming, positive environment to present their research. You, our judges, are the people who get to do this. Your role as a judge is to examine the student projects and evaluate these projects based on the evaluation forms that have specific criteria and parameters that tie to the annual theme. As a judge, you are determining which students get to move on to the state competition. And it's you who decides if these students have adequately explained their topics and related it to the theme, which again is rights and responsibilities. Not all of you will be filling out the evaluation forms, but it is important for all of our judges to understand the criteria by which the student projects are evaluated so they can be ranked accordingly. No matter if you're filling out the form or not, we want to remind all of our judges to be encouraging and positive. These, again, are middle and high school students. They're not college level. So we ask our judges to be consistent and fair and give the students the feedback that you would like to receive. So here are the 2 things we were talking about earlier: historical quality, clarity of presentation. You can see here that historical quality is about 80% of it, and clarity of presentation is about 20%. The national office work with teachers and coordinators to develop this evaluation form to serve the students and their projects as a whole. Again, historical quality is by far the most important factor for the judging, as it's 80%, and it should be given more of your attention. Students are not just memorizing and recounting facts. They are interpreting, they are analyzing these facts. The project must have a strong thesis statement, and students must have a conclusion based on their research. They should be reflecting on their topic from a historical perspective, which might include causes and consequences, the relationship of a local event to a larger significance, etc. There should be a balance of primary and secondary sources, considering a wide variety of viewpoints. We are looking for projects that offer thoughtful analysis with well-rounded conclusions at the end. Students should clearly be stating why their topic is significant in history and why it relates to the theme of rights and responsibilities. Remember, fame does not equate significance. Just because a person or an event is famous does not make it significant. We want students to be able to explain to the judges why they think their topic is significant, and how their sources help prove that. Clarity of presentation is all about the project's presentation, appearance, grammar and text, and use of equipment, if it, may be a website or a documentary, etc. This section is customized to each category, so it represents what the students or what the judges are looking at as they evaluate the projects in the different categories. Some projects may be well executed, beautiful, elaborate, but if the historical significance is not well represented, you want the evaluation to reflect that. Just because it's cute doesn't mean it gets to win. So what makes a good comment? We wanted to take a moment to discuss, the good qualities of comments we would like to see in these evaluation forms. These tips are also helpful for thinking about the project and how to rank them. You really want to tell the student why the aspect of their project was fair or superior, with specific examples of how to improve. So you're explaining your selection of the bubbles above that we discussed earlier. Even if the students don't advance to the next level of competition, if you provide them with examples and actionable steps for next time, they will grow as young historians and researchers. A helpful tactic can be to ask questions in your comments. Why did the Apollo moon landing revolutionize space history or space research and communication? How did you think that carrier pigeons influenced the outcome of the war? Questions get a student thinking about their projects from a different perspective, or perhaps in a way they didn't before. Remember that every project has redeemable qualities. Try to sandwich constructive criticism between compliments. These students worked very hard on these projects. So acknowledge the students' hard work. Thank them for participating. You might find this table helpful when thinking about your evaluation forms. It's a breakdown of turning thoughts into constructive comments. For example, instead of saying, "This project needs a lot of work," you can say, "You were off to a good start. Consider strengthening your project by ... Instead of saying, "The documentary sound was awful," you can say, "The poor audio quality of your documentary distracted from the overall project. Consider testing your audio on different systems or with different settings ahead of time." These are just to give you some examples of how to word these constructive criticisms so that students can learn from them. National History Day, the national contest, they have rules for every category, for every entry, and specifics for each of the categories. You have access to this contest rule book on your judge portal, and I will be sending out tomorrow with your category an abbreviated version of the rules for each category. Many of these projects will be very close in judging, and consulting the rules may help you when you're deciding on how to rank the projects above one another. In the deliberation process, you may have questions about infractions and disqualifications. This table is helpful for deciphering of what counts as a minor infraction, a major infraction, a disqualification. Both minor and major infractions should be noted in the comments of your judge evaluation form. Minor infractions should not prevent a project from advancing, but may be considered more if you're trying to break a tie. Any projects with major infractions, however, should not rank first, second, third. And there are 3 major reasons that can cause disqualification. So the 3 causes for disqualification are plagiarism, reusing an entry or any part of an entry from a previous year, and tampering with another student's entry. To note, no entries are disqualified by judges on the spot. Any questions you have about whether you might be concerned about breaking one of these offenses or anything, please report that to Megan and myself through the History Day email. We will be the ones that will investigate and take action. Disqualification is hard to prove, but we want to make sure that we do everything to make this a fair competition for the students. So again, we have our email here, historyday@mercermuseum.org. We are nearing the end of the training tonight, so I just wanted to go over a couple of common myths that people who may have been judging for many years consider when they're thinking about the projects. And these relate usually to a specific category. So for websites and exhibits, remember that timelines are not required. Even though a timeline may be a helpful tool, student projects don't need them to move on in the contest. Performance judges should remember that songs are not required. They can certainly add to a project, but projects without songs can be just as good, if not better. In documentaries, student-conducted interviews or oral histories of any kind are not required either. They can be included, but having an actual interview by the students is not a must. If an oral history is included, the interview should have been conducted by the student. For all judges, remember that glitz doesn't win. If a project is beautiful and it catches your eye, that's great, but we want to make sure that the historical research, the relation to the theme, and the clarity of the project is also there. Remember that there is no winning formula for a student entry. They come in all shapes and sizes, so keep your mind open and consider each project with a fresh eye. And lastly, events do not need to be 30 years old to be considered history. For example, 9/11, although now it's getting to be closer and closer to 30 years ago, it is a relevant historical topic. So they can tackle topics that are less than 30 years old in a historical lens. So that was a whole bunch of information in a small amount of time, and I wanted to leave time for questions. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat and we can go over them before concluding. And if there are no questions, I just wanted to again remind you that we will be sending out a copy of this webinar to all judges who are registered. And if you have any questions that you think of at a later time, please email me and I can let you know. So I see there's some chat, so let me open that. Oh, great. Megan already responded to one. I will read it out loud just for everybody here. Someone asked for exhibits. Is the display limited to the area of the display board, or are students allowed to place other items in the display area? Megan responded in the chat. She said, for judging the exhibits, they are judged off of the content on the posters and display board, along with meeting the requirements with their written materials. However, in person, they may have extra displays on the table to enhance the look of the project. That kind of goes with the glitz and glam we were talking about earlier. They can add to the cuteness of the look and how fun the project looks. But again, they're getting judged on that historical content. We have a question about who makes the ultimate decision on disqualifications. Again, anything you have that seems suspicious to you, please send it along to us and we will take a look at it, myself and Megan. When it comes to interviews inside of the documentaries, can answers be jigsawed in with responses? I'm not exactly sure what this question is answering.
Want me to clarify what I'm meaning? I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
It's when the students have been able to find like YouTube videos where they've found a person who has actually answered a question that they've actually come up with as they're finding their information. Is there a length to of time to be able to, do you follow what I mean before I try and?
Yeah, so you're saying like in the documentary, if they found a clip of a question getting answered?
Yes.
Yeah. And if there's like a length of that?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think in the rule books, there is no specific rule about that. So I think I would make a comment in my judging if it got to be excessive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
I
think
follow you.
it's based on that. There's no specific rule, but I think you can tell in the quality of the project when it gets to be that's too long of a clip.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. Can an exhibit be virtual? That's a great question. All of the projects get submitted virtually. So if you are an exhibits judge, you will be seeing the project virtually, pictures of the project, and then all the written materials. But in person, everybody will be bringing the physical exhibits. What if you don't have consensus on the rankings? I had a captain go against the team in the past. That's a great question. And that's what I'm here for. That's what Megan is here for. So on all the judging nights, I will be in the main room, or Megan will be in the main room. And then we will be having all the breakout rooms. And one of the two of us will always be in that main room for people on their way out, or if they have a question, they can pop in. But we will be going through the rooms as well. And if there's an issue of the team is not reaching consensus, we will come. No captain should agree with the team on one side and then go input other rankings. If you are having issues within coming to that consensus, please just come to Megan or myself and we can help figure out what we're going to be doing the rankings for. Thank you. Great question. What is the date that written papers will be received to judge and the approximate timeline for a judge to submit? That's a great question. Everybody will be receiving their projects tomorrow. Students did submit their projects about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. So all of the projects have been looked at, made sure the links are working and sorted within the judges. So tomorrow you'll be receiving an email with the link to the judging portal ZFairs, and all of the projects will be there. You'll be looking at between 4 to 7 projects each. And then the timeline is for at least for round 1 judges. So round 1 judges will get their stuff tomorrow. Round 2 judges will just get an email informing them of their round 2. Round 1s are the ones who have more evaluation work to do ahead of time. And there's about 2 weeks that you have because we have 3 nights of Zoom judging, the 10th, 11th, 12th, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So depending on what category you have is which night of that week you're judging. The day after that category is when the round 2 judges will receive it. That's why you need to have your evaluation forms ready that night. Then the next day, the round 2 judges will get it. And they have a shorter, like time period to finish it because their turnaround, that is what I was looking for, is the next Monday. So all round 2 judges will be doing their ranking virtually together on Monday the 17th. So they have a shorter turnaround. There is a database of research that students have access to through their schools, but persons on the judging team do not have access. How can we determine that they have not plagiarized from that source? That's a great question, and that is really the hard thing about plagiarism. I think you have to go in assuming that these students have done the work themselves, and if you see evidence of the contrary, you bring it to myself or Megan, and we can go from there. But I would go on the assumption that they've done the work themselves unless you see suspicious evidence. Perfect. So I see that was pretty much a lot of the questions. So if you have any other questions in the future, please send an email and I will be seeing everybody again shortly on the Zoom nights in a little less than 2 weeks. So I look forward to that. And thank you all for coming, for listening to this training tonight, for spending about an hour with us. We really couldn't do this without you. So I'm so grateful. Thank you. Have a great rest of your night.